What's up, Mike Nostalgia? Dave here, my podcast. What's going on in pop culture right now? A lot of Oscar talk today. Recapping the 2025 Oscars, the results, the surprises, Nora's big day, and then looking ahead to the 2026 Oscars with our early, emphasis on early 2026 Oscar predictions. So a lot to get into there. And then in terms of new releases, of course, Lisa of Blackpink's solo debut album Alter Ego, and the return of Daredevil for Marvel. Daredevil Born Again premiering on Disney Plus. I'll have to get into that as well. So make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/nostalgiapod. Linktree.com/nostalgiapod. See the links below. Hit the best of 2025 Spotify playlist linked below. Let me know what's good and let's get into it.
What's up, Mike Nostalgia? Dave here with my 2025 Oscars reaction. I'm going to recap the 2025 Oscars, talk about who won, what the big surprises of the night were, and also my general takeaways from the show and from the results. Overall, I did a pretty good job predicting this year. Only got 4 wrong, and the 2 of the ones I did get wrong were the bigger surprises of the night. We'll get into all that. But really, to start us off, the 2025 Oscars, the 2024 film year, this was all about Anora. Anora won 5 Academy Awards tonight, and specifically, director Sean Baker himself won 4 of those awards. Anora winning Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Film Editing, and Best Original Screenplay. Because Sean Baker is the sole screenwriter and the sole editor of Anora, as well as, of course, the director, Sean Baker becomes the first person to win 4 Academy Awards at the same ceremony since Walt Disney did it decades ago. Of course, when Disney did it, he won several of those on short subject categories. This is the first time it's happened for one person winning 4 awards with one movie. Also incredible that this happened with a independent film, independently financed movie that cost under $10 million, a small movie. Sean Baker, a long-standing champion of independent film, who's been rising in profile and status in his movie cachet over the last 10 years or so with the Florida Project and recently Red Rocket, now Anora. It's a really outstanding story and also a really just win. I think Anora winning Best Picture, I would have preferred The Brutalist to win, but I love Anora. I had Anora number 4 in my top 10 this year. It's a fantastic win. Winning for Best Original Screenplay, winning for Best Film Editing, and winning Best Picture for that matter. Not really surprises, given all the takeaways and precursors and predicting that we had come to this point. Of course, we talked about that last week if you missed it. But the big surprise of all of this is Mikey Madison winning Best Actress for Anora, the titular role, of course, defeating Demi Moore in The Substance, who was the heavy favorite. And, if you look at the precursor, Mikey only won once during the whole lead up to this. Demi was dominating. And, this is kind of similar to how Adrien Brody dominated Best Actor the whole race, except for the one time he didn't win, which was when Chalamet won for the SAG Award. Mikey only had the one win, but this ended up just being the Anora wave, where Anora dominated and won almost everything it was nominated. And the only thing it didn't win was, of course, Best Supporting Actor, where Yora Borisov did, in fact, still lose to Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain, which was to be expected. Kieran Culkin literally swept the entire race. This also becomes the second Best Picture win for Neon, of course, following Parasite 5 years ago. Awesome. Again, another small distributor like A24 recently winning Best Picture now multiple times before Netflix has won it once. Of course, Emilia Perez was the leading nominee at this year's Oscars before controversy really derailed that movie's campaign in most respects. But yeah, shout out to Nora. It's a really cool story, and I think Nora winning continues the almost exclusively uptrend, positive trend in terms of the movies that are being honored by the Film Academy. The Oscars are largely picking great movies, and we talk about the expansion of the Academy in the last 10 years, and it's increasingly international, more international, population. It's membership, and as a result of that, we're getting great nominees for the most part, and they're picking great winners. Now, are we a bit divorced from the most popular movies in the world versus the movies that are getting the most critical love and Academy love. Yes, that's been a trend that's been, happening for 20 years or so. So I think what's cool is that the Oscars are kind of doubling down on what film fans, film thinkers, film enjoyers, and like the capital F sense really like think about and gravitate towards. And they're just rewarding the good movies and leaving everything else to the side. It's pretty cool. Yes, did Amelia Perez get a shit ton of nominations despite a really polarizing reception? Yes, that still happens. It wasn't that long ago that Green Book won Best Picture after all. It's not perfect, I'm not saying that. But Parasite, Oppenheimer, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Anora, Poor Things winning 4 Oscars, like we're in a great time in terms of the results, more or less, with the Academy Awards. And this is just really, I think, cool to see. And frankly, I don't give a fuck about like the ratings and the fact that the relevance of award shows in general is obviously waning. That's true across all mediums. It is what it is. I just like that the Oscars are kind of doing their thing the way they want to do it, and as a result, it was another long show. Right, 3 hours 45 minutes, under 4 hours. I'll take under 4 hours every time for the most part, but I'm happy. I don't need a 3 hour show. I'm happy with it being a little longer. I have no problem with letting Adrian Brody ramble on with his acceptance speech. You know, um, as a result, you're gonna have, uh, I think, a award ceremony that there always feels like there's fat that could have been trimmed, things that you didn't need in the show, right? And I think when you have, an extended tribute to the late Quincy Jones, which I think is, a great gesture, even if I didn't think the tribute was anything special per se. Maybe you don't also need a kind of off the cuff but extended tribute to the James Bond film franchise. Pretty curious timing that less than 2 weeks after Amazon acquired full creative control of the James Bond film franchise, that the Academy decides to honor Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson and then do a extended Bond tribute with a montage and also a medley of Bond songs performances, and have those songs performed by Lisa, Doja Cat, and Ray, because they all have a hit single from Lisa's new album that just came out. Did not expect any of that to happen. Did I enjoy the montage and the Bond tribute? I did. But that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of 10 minutes that a lot of people be like, why did you have that? It is what it is. I also love that, the ceremony this year really spread the love, spread the wealth as well as it could for the most part. Obviously Anora with the 5 wins. Wicked wins twice for production design and costume design. The Brutalist wins twice for cinematography and original score. Dune wins twice for visual effects and sound. I'm Still Here wins Best International Feature Film. Emilia Perez wins Best Supporting Actress and Best Original Song. So between all of that, that's almost all of the Best Picture nominees. The only Best Picture nominees that didn't win anything were Nickel Boys, which was to be expected, only had a few nominations, and also A Complete Unknown. And I think, if you're predicting, it kind of felt like that was going to happen to A Complete Unknown. It really all came down to if Timothée Chalamet could have won Best Actor and defeat Adrian Brody in The Brutalist. But Brody did in fact win, and as a result becomes the 10th or 11th, I forget the stat, 2-time Best Actor winner, which is astounding. Of course, it would have been historic if Timmy did win, because he would become the new youngest Best Actor winner, unseating Adrian Brody, who was the previous youngest. They're both age 29 when Brody won. Timmy right now. Pretty historic either way. It's split. It ends up going to Brody. And, long speech aside, I think the spirit of his speech I enjoyed. It was rambly. It was kind of out of order. You could have, if that was written down, you would have pieced the talking points in a different line, a line of thought for sure. Nonetheless, I went back and forth a lot on how I felt about who should win Best Actor between those two. And, I really did settle on Brody because ultimately Brody is it's the better performance. Like, it's an absolutely astounding tour de force like epic performance in The Brutalist, and to me that's just what it comes down to. It's just a really amazing piece of work, and Timmy was excellent in A Complete Unknown, but I think just Brody was just kind of on the level. Like I think it was kind of it was better than he was in The Pianist, to be honest. Like I think it's one of the great acting performances of recent times, and it was just that astounding, that massive, in a movie that's all about scale and scope and wowing you at every turn. But he was able to, you know, deliver, and the fact that he ends up making history, being the 2-time winner, that's great. That doesn't really factor into my decision, but would it have been cool for Timothy Chalamet to get the win now? Get the win in his prime, in his star as high as it is right now. Yes, it would have been great. Hopefully, he doesn't have to wait a very long time the way like Al Pacino and Leonardo DiCaprio did. Let's hope. Timmy has excellent taste, working with amazing people. I'm sure he'll be back very soon. But yeah, I think Brody was the right call. The other acting wins, the two ones that were not surprising at all. Of course, Zoe Saldana wins supporting actress in Emilia Perez, Kieran Culkin supporting actor in A Real Pain. Both good. I don't have any beef with that. I mean, personally, I would have picked Guy Pearce in supporting actor instead. Another absolutely magnanimous, massive performance from him. But Culkin is a fine win nonetheless. No beef with it. And Zoe, I've always admired her work, and to me it's kind of cool to see her like get such recognition, such plaudits from doing arguably the best work of her career. Basically, as soon as she stopped being heavily involved in franchise work where she had to paint her skin, of course, namely as Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy and Natiri in the Avatar films, it's cool to see Zoe play a real person and get recognized for it. But it was good work for sure. I'm happy with it. And of course, I mentioned Mikey Madison beating Demi Moore for Best Actress. That was not something I predicted. I got that wrong, like most people did, because all the signs are pointing to Moore. But it was my preferred performance, of the field. Mikey Madison is in every single inch of Honora and is an absolute scene stealer. She is incredibly commanding, in that film. It's cool to see the ingenue back. The Oscars haven't really trended that way in terms of rewarding a young actress. We haven't really seen that too much in recent times. We're well past like the Marissa Tomei days. So this is cool that someone so young is getting recognized like this, and she's going to be a star no matter what off the strength of Honora. But it's really cool to see the win. I do feel for Demi Moore. I think the narrative that really coalesced around her candidacy when she gave the Golden Globe speech when she won, it was strong, and you have a sense that will she be able to get back to this point again? I'm not sure. The reason I would prefer Mikey, just purely picking who I want to win, The Substance is more of a two-hander movie. Margaret Qualley is a huge aspect of that movie, whereas Honora is clearly the lead character in the film. So I feel for Demi Moore, but I'm quite happy that Mikey won, even though I did gasp. Like I was shocked just because I didn't really see it trending that way, even though it was expected that Nora would, do great tonight. I'm Still Here, winning Best International Feature Film, defeating Emilia Perez despite its significantly more nominations. That's what I predicted. A lot of people were predicting that, just given the controversy about Emilia Perez following Carlos Sofia Gascon's, tweets and whatnot. I'm happy with that, though. I mean, I'm Still Here. I had in my top 20 for the year. Emilia Perez was my least favorite of the Best Picture nominations, so it's pretty cut and dry for me. Shout out the nation of Brazil, which really rallied around I'm Still Here. I'm really happy that they got to see that recognition for a film that clearly has really resonated in Brazil, really performed well over there, and it's about a really serious topic that's still relevant today. It's a great story. Similarly, more of a surprise would be in Best Animated Feature Film, where The Wild Robot did not prevail as I predicted, but in fact, Flow won, which of course also was nominated for Best International Feature Film because that animated film is from Latvia, this being Latvia's first Oscar win. Really cool story. That's not a movie that I connected with nearly as much as others did. Wild Robot I had, 10th on my list this year. I respect Flow, though, and I do think it's outside the box and unique compared to the usual suspects that you find in that category. So I think that alone is plenty good reason to be happy about the win. And again, I'm sure Latvia is really excited about that. The other two awards I predicted wrong were production design, which went to Wicked. I picked The Brutalist. Wicked was the favorite. I just went a little different there with my lean. I was wrong with that. And also sound, I got wrong. Sound went to Dune, but I picked Wicked. So I still picked Wicked to win twice. I just didn't pick the right two. I only got one of them right. So in terms of the other wins, just kind of going through the flow of it. Again, going through the flow of it, the first award was Flow winning Best Animated Feature Film. I'm going to skip the shorts like I did with my predicting. Moving on from that, Wicked wins Best Costume Design. Paul Tazwell becomes the first black male winner of that award. Very nice. Original Screenplay goes to Sean Baker and Honora. Adapted Screenplay goes to Conclave. Makeup and hairstyling goes to The Substance. I love the June Squibb, Bill Skarsgård bit. That was really funny. Editing goes to Sean Baker and Honora. Supporting actress to Zoe Saldana. Production design goes to Wicked. Original song goes to El Mal from Emilia Perez, which was the favorite, of course. Best documentary feature goes to No Other Land. Best sound and best visual effects both go to Dune Part 2. Best cinematography goes to The Brutalist, Lowell Crawley with the win there. That was what I predicted. That was the correct choice to me. I mean, apologies to Nickel Boys, because Nickel Boys has really flashy, like intentional cinematography with its POV presentation. But to me, like, the Brutalist cinematography was just so spectacular and so essential to that movie working, and I'm really happy with that win. Similarly, Best Original Score for The Brutalist goes to Daniel Bloomberg. That's the best score apart from Challengers, of the 2020s. Like, to me, those are the two best scores of the last 5 years. And the fact that Challengers was completely ignored this year, still mind-blowing to me, completely ridiculous. Adrian Brody wins Best Actor. Sean Baker wins Best Director. Mikey wins Best Actress. Honora wins Best Picture. And I'm Still Here wins Best International Feature Film. That's all the dubs. In terms of the flow, I love Conan. I thought Conan's opening monologue was great. And of course that followed up, I think, a really nice kind of tribute to LA, following the fires, everything that happened. Of course, the fires affected award season, affected the film industry tremendously. Very recently, of course, having that tie into then Cynthia Erivo doing Defying Gravity, following Ariana Grande doing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It made complete sense to have those two singing at this show, and I love that decision over performing all of the best original songs. Easy decision when the Wicked songs are not eligible for Best Original Song, and the songs that are in that category largely suck. No one really wants to hear them. So yeah, happy with that. Conan, again, loved what he did. I thought the Substance opening bit was funny. The Honora F word, Carlos Sofia Gascon tweets joke, excellent, really funny. The John Lithgow long speech joke was good. Adam Sandler kind of closing it out. Then the I Won't Waste Time, like, song and dance, even though the show still was 3 hours and 45 minutes. I loved all that stuff. Interestingly, they showed clips for all the movies throughout, and they showed clips before Best Actor and Best Actress and Best Picture. But they didn't show clips for supporting, and instead you had Robert Downey Jr. riffing on all the nominees, and then Define Joy Randolph reading a speech about all the nominees for the two supporting characters. Of course, they're the previous winners of the award. Interesting choice. I'm very pro clip. Frankly, I would just love to have like lots of clips of the nominees and less stuff not related to the current movie year, like excise the Bond stuff, for example. Even excise a Quincy Jones tribute for the most part. Leave that to the Grammys, honestly. That being said, I kind of loved Robert Downey Jr. riffing just because he's so good at that kind of thing. He's so charismatic. I love the pre-recorded bit of Conan with Cinema Streams, which is just an ad for going to the movie theater. Nice tie-in to Sean Baker's continuing rallying cry about the movie theater experience and how essential it is to the culture of movies and the business of movies, for that matter. Best Original Song, introduced by Mick Jagger. Again, I feel bad for Mick that they wheeled him out there to introduce a really very forgettable crop of song nominees. Obviously, great to see firefighters there represented following everything they've had to do in LA recently. And then one of the firefighters gets a great dig about Joker 2 producers losing their home. Really funny. In Memoriam, always, I think, done very tastefully, actually teed up by Morgan Freeman, doing a little bit about Gene Hackman, who just very, very recently passed, of course, quite tragically and in a kind of unknown circumstances as far as we know right now. The music choice was kind of odd with In Memoriam. It was a bit more ominous than it normally is. Nonetheless, I still thought it was, really good. I mean, lost a lot of legends, like seemingly every year. I love that Quentin Tarantino introduced Best Director this year, just because of the symmetry with Baker in many respects in terms of independent film origins. Tarantino is a massive advocate for the theater experience, an owner of a theater in LA, of course. That was great. Yeah, really happy with it. 2024, despite being a movie year that was strike affected and didn't necessarily have the depth that the average movie year does, I actually saw less new movies last year than I have in the last 4 or 5 years as a result. I still thought the top of this year was very excellent, and the Oscars continued to largely get things right, and I'm pretty happy about that. So we'll see what happens next year. Of course, next week I'll be doing my early 2026 Oscar predictions, so talking about just the slate of movies that potentially could be in the mix next year, and it's a easy way to kind of preview the year. So we'll talk about all of that and try and look ahead and forecast what potentially is on the table this year. And of course, if you love movies, make sure you come back. I endeavor to watch 100 new movies every single year and talk about almost all of them on the channel. And if you like award shows, including the Emmys and the Grammys, as well as the Oscars, stick around. Let me know what you thought of the Oscar ceremony this year. What was your favorite movie? Who were you pulling for? And I'll see you next time. What's up, Wallback Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Lisa's debut solo album, Alter Ego. Lisa continuing the month of Blackpink, the third member to release her solo album, with Jennie's concluding this run in a week's time. Very short amount of time between all these releases, which has always been interesting. Nonetheless, Lisa back with the album at last after several singles. And if you think about, where this Blackpink solo journey has taken us, Lisa, like her peers, breaking off from YG solo-wise, signing to RCA Records, in her case, establishing her own, label slash, company in L Loud, however you say it. And, unsurprisingly, her album is very commercial. It's very blockbuster. It's very guest heavy, like Jennie's. And this shouldn't come as much of a surprise following Lisa's first solo output a few years ago with the dual single release of La Lisa and Money. And while Money I thought was more interesting musically, incorporating a lot of Lisa's native Thai production into the sound of the song, Money to me, though, despite its catchiness, came across as a bit more generic, not unique to Lisa's identity or anything like that. We've kind of taken that to the next level here with this aptly tamed album, Alter Ego. And in this case, Lisa is literally introducing multiple sonic alter egos, and she's kind of trying on different genres, different performance styles, and demonstrating a clear interest in versatility and a diversity of sound, things like that. And we've probably realized quite recently that Lisa is in fact very multi-talented, not just with the musical types of songs she can make, but also the fact that she's actually a really great actor on HBO's The White Lotus Season 3 right now. I've been very impressed with her performance through the first 2 episodes. So she's chameleonic, clearly. Lisa's debut solo album, Alter Ego, continues the chameleonic, multifaceted sonic approach that Lisa has taken to her solo music output. She's trying on a lot of different sounds with this album, and as a result, it doesn't come across as the most cohesive album, but there's a lot of great highs on this. Lisa's always been a rapper first, a singer second, and I think the raps are certainly forward on this album and quite good across the record. But her singing has certainly improved. I think Lisa and her collaborators really understand how best to use her voice, and they're able to use Lisa's effortless charisma to really elevate the material because Lisa's trying so many different things out on this album. Not everything works, so it's certainly kind of up and down, but when things really work, like the song Chill, they are excellent. Not all of the features on here really add a lot to the album. A lot of them feel quite tacked on for star power's sake. But frankly, it's the songs that Lisa's on alone that I like the best anyway. Track 1, Born Again, featuring Doja Cat and Ray, is, I believe, the third or fourth single from this album. Just came out recently. This one's kind of interesting, right? Because it's quite up tempo, has a quick Doja Cat verse that was pretty tacked on. Like Lisa as a rapper totally could have done that herself. Kind of a strange addition, if you ask me. This song, the chorus isn't bad, but I feel like Lisa's really at her limit vocally with that song. That's like her kind of like stressing to like hit the range. The outro vocal breakdown though I think is really good, and like this is an example of like a song on this album that has like disparate parts that I think I like and work quite well. But then there's weird elements to the song that don't totally gel with me. So like, not really a song I'm revisiting all too much, but like the chorus is pretty tight, even if it doesn't really grab me too much. Track 2 is the lead single from the project Rockstar, which came out, last summer. It's quite old at this point. And this is another one where, like, I think the hook is fine, never really grabbed me. Kind of, like, generically written, like, Lisa flexing, similar to how Money is written, honestly, where it's just kind of, like, generic, basic flexing. Thing with Rockstar though is like the second verse. I think the rap from Lisa's really good, on that one. Again, like a really smooth outro as the snare pops in. I like the sentiment of the song overall though because it does describe Lisa's stardom. Like she is a rock star, right? She is a dancer. She is a star. She is a performer. She's not like a singer first, and that's okay. That's always been how she is. This song with Ryan Tedder, on the writing, notably. The next song, Elastigirl, not a single, pretty good. I like the vocal performance. I think rap-wise, the flow very much reminds me of Azalea Banks. If you know, you know. That was an interesting pull. I like the inspiration. Track 4, Thunder, another weird one, has this really strange initial auto-tune, but then kind of like mellows out and is like a pretty, solid, serviceable song. The next song, New Woman, featuring Rosalia, is the second single from the album. Also came out several months ago at this point. And this is one where when I first heard it, I didn't really care for it too much, but then it really grew on me, especially in the context of the album. I think if you listen to this beat with good headphones, you'll realize how strong this production is. Love the tempo. I think the hook is just okay once again, but, the Rosalia verse, for that matter, also comes across as very tacked on. The tempo slows down, the bass drops in, but then I think this song actually comes together quite nicely when Rosalia does the hook on her own in Spanish, and it kind of like concludes the song in a fun way. This song, notably, Max Martin and Tuvlo contributed to the writing. The next song, Fuck Up the World, featuring Future. I mean, Future being featured on any K-pop member's album is pretty funny. Honestly, I believe they had a connection a few years ago at a Celine event. Of course, Lisa, big Celine brand ambassador at this point. Kind of reminds me of Money. It's like this album's version of Money. The lyrics are patently absurd, and they kind of come across as inauthentic from Lisa at times. That's how I felt about Money as well. Like there's just certain turns of phrase that when she says them, I'm like, that just doesn't come across as real from you. But I think performance-wise, I don't mind it because she does two different flows that I think both work pretty well. I don't know. It's not something I'm going to revisit too much, but for this type of song, I guess it does work for what it is. Rapunzel, featuring Megan Thee Stallion, kind of it's interesting. This one turns it down, tempo-wise. Then you kind of have a throwback, old school flow from Lisa, kind of in that mid-tempo range. I think it works pretty well. Again, she's trying on all different kinds of sounds and performance styles, and then fits in with Meg. And I think Meg actually fits the song pretty well. Fun feature from her. Meg, her second recent K-pop collab after doing stuff with Twice 2 different times, both on the Twice song Strategy, and before that, Twice jumped on her Mamushi remix. So Megan certainly dabbling in the K-pop world these days. And I guess that kind of brings up the point of, is this even a K-pop album? It's pretty much exclusively, I believe, if not 100% in English. And made with RCA Records, an American Western label. So kind of how I felt about the Rose album for that matter, where it's like this is clearly conceived of and thought about in a more traditional mainstream Western pop sense. And whether these distinctions actually mean anything is probably a completely different conversation, just kind of where my mind naturally drifts to in trying to categorize things. It's just interesting to me because we really don't have any comparison point in terms of like mainstream established K-pop global superstar making music outside the K-pop system. Moonlit Floor, I believe this is the third single. I forgot the order of these. Moonlit Floor, parentheses, Kiss Me. This one never worked for me vocally on the chorus. I think Lisa's, limitations kind of come out on that song, but the beat is pretty groovy. The verses themselves are pretty bouncy. I understand why the song's quite successful. The hook just kind of holds me back. When I'm With You featuring Tyla, again, talk about massive superstar A-list features galore on this project. Great back and forth early between the two of them. I like Lisa's flow on this. I think it matches the drums quite well. And then I think the doubled vocals on the outro also sound great. Bad Girl, my favorite, pure Lisa rap moment on the whole album. I think this shit is really hard. The beat is awesome. Verse is better than the hook once again, a bit of a trend on this album, but I think the song's great. I think it just really goes. I think Lisa, she has a lot of swag. She has a lot of charisma, right? That's for a long time been like her whole artistic, identity and the main part of her contributions to Blackpink alongside her, excellent dancing ability. Um, she's certainly more multifaceted and wide ranging now, as you hear on this album. But that her core strength, so to speak, that charisma, that star power, really on full display on a song like this. Lifestyle, I think the sung vocals on this, again, pretty lackluster, but the second verse I did enjoy. Chill, the next song, this is my favorite song on the album. I think this is clearly, easily, without a shadow of a doubt, the best song on the album. I mean, it starts off acoustic, then the drums kick in. Lisa is just so great vocally on this song, and she's doing everything, different inflections, so much energy. The chorus very much reminds me of Justin Timberlake, and I think the reason is because I'm getting a big Timbaland vibe from this beat. Obviously, that's a massive compliment. I think this song is excellent. Also, an amazing line. My favorite lyric on the album, "Can't read my face, call me Mona Lisa." That's patently fire. Reminds me of 21 Savage a few years ago on Treacherous Twins when he said, "I don't show ID at the club because they know that I'm 21." Sometimes those really obvious turns of phrase are amazing and they land so well. I love this from Lisa. Why the heck was this song not a single? We had, 4 singles for this album, but not the best song? I mean, it doesn't have to be the first single, but why did you not push this song so much more? This song is great, and I'm seeing a lot of similar sentiment online. People agreeing that this is the best song. Why wasn't this pushed sooner? And that leads us to Dream, which is a unsurprisingly slower kind of outro conclusion type track. It's okay, not bad, but just not really my normal vibe. And then you conclude with Fuck Up the World and Rapunzel with the alter ego solo versions without the Future and Meg features, which I could take or leave. But yeah, I think overall, like, I just think the album really comes into its own and really starts to hum in that back half. And by the end, I was feeling pretty good. I had a lot more reservation listening to it in the beginning, but I think in terms of what Lisa has given us to this point, in terms of demonstrating what her strengths are, what her artistic interests are, this really, nails that. And again, her limitations are still present in terms of she's not the best singer in the world, and you can hear that sometimes. And also, she doesn't really commit to any kind of sound or artistic direction. I think the chameleonic nature of the album is, in fact, the sonic direction, and that can prevent some, lack of cohesiveness at times. So it's not perfect, but I think this album overall is successful, just like the Rose album was very successful. And frankly, Jisoo's, EP, for what it was certainly the best thing Jisoo's ever came in a solo wise. So there's a lot riding on the Jennie album next week, Ruby, to complete the foursome here and really nail it, and would really put a cap on the Blackpink solo era, the first version of it, I guess, being a massive success. Actually, I guess this is the Blackpink second solo era, because they all released solo music before, but this is the first version where they're all full-length projects. So there's that. But yeah, let me know, what did you think of Lisa's alter ego? Do you agree it's a success overall? Are you vibing with the performance on The White Lotus? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
What's up, Mark Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Daredevil Born Again, the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series on Disney+. Of course, this Daredevil is the same as our old Daredevil. Of course, Charlie Cox returning to the role he originated on Netflix over 3 seasons, starting in 2015. And this is, quite the interesting amalgamation of Marvel past, present, and also the creation of the series really speaks to issues Marvel has been having with getting its projects across the line. Of course, Daredevil in its Netflix incarnation was a Marvel Television property back when Marvel Television was a separate creative entity from Marvel Studios on the movie side of things. The distinction has now ceased, and everything is under one umbrella at Marvel Studios. And we've seen Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock recently. It was a big pop, a big cameo appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home. I remember the crowd being really excited to see him because it was final confirmation that Cox would return as Daredevil, something he had been lobbying for in the lead up to that actually happening back in 2021. Cox also reprised the role briefly on She-Hulk on Disney+, and also a little bit on Echo. Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, also from the Netflix series, similarly was brought back into the fold on Hawkeye and also Echo, where he was the chief protagonist. In a sense, it's another example of Marvel kind of playing at the nostalgia play that was available to them, similar to what they did with No Way Home, Deadpool, Wolverine, etc. Whether this was the multiversal version of Charlie Cox's Daredevil or literally the same version, same stories from Netflix, that part's still pretty nebulous, pretty undefined. Nonetheless, it's back. Here it is. And Daredevil Born Again was originally conceived as a 18-episode season that was almost completely shot back in 2023 before that series was completely reworked. The original directors were removed. In their place, they brought in Punisher veteran Dario Scarpane and actually made him the showrunner of the series, and that kind of speaks to the problem Marvel's had on Disney Plus, where they weren't actually operating in the traditional TV model, and they've since realized that that was pretty stupid. But thinking about what happened to Daredevil Born Again, they basically redid the show all over again and refilmed the entire show. And Scarpane has said that Daredevil Born Again Season 1, only the first 8th and 9th episodes that we're going to see were completely created by him. So as a result, this season of Daredevil is a huge amalgamation of 2 different shoots from 2 different creative visions, and that's a tall, mountain to climb in terms of delivering any kind of cohesive and effective storytelling. And as a result, now Daredevil Season 1 is going to 9 episodes, and then we're going to get Season 2 next year with 8 episodes. So whether this show actually continues beyond these 2 original seasons, that actually remains to be seen. Like, when you hear about the show being renewed, remember that this was really just kind of the original plan all along. They just split it up. Yeah, it's kind of a similar problem to think about what happened with Captain America: Brave New World. We just got a film that was not very good, and that was another film that was completely reworked. And we're just having a hard time getting projects that land in a satisfying manner at the MCU right now. It's great to be back with Charlie Cox's Daredevil in the starring role after his big cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home and subsequent other appearances on Disney+. The issue with Daredevil Born Again is that I don't have any confidence that this season is going to land with much satisfaction given the lengthy and extensive development troubles this show went through. Ripping up your first shoot of the series and doing it all over again and then basically combining the 2 into a season is not a great way to create. We can only hope that Cox's performance as Matt Murdock, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, the returning Jon Bernthal as the Punisher, we can only hope that those appearances really build up this material to be greater than the sum of its parts. As a street-level story, as a TVMA-rated show, this can certainly exist in a space that the MCU doesn't normally operate in. I think that is very appealing. We just need them to nail it. Reportedly, one of the issues with the original shoot for Daredevil Born Again was that we didn't actually see Matt Murdock in costume as Daredevil until I believe it was the 4th episode. Well, that was certainly rectified with this season that we did get, because episode 1 basically rips right into an extended Daredevil fight scene in its second scene. Daredevil on Netflix was really lauded for its fight choreography, specifically distinct, oneer or faux oneer extended fight scenes, which is really intense hand-to-hand combat choreography you don't really get elsewhere in superhero storytelling. Prison riot scene, hallway fight, those are definitely pretty significant moments of action in terms of any superhero stuff you see on TV. And those are really memorable moments. The oneer fight that we get this time around, it's Daredevil Born Again, effectively season 4. It's good. It's a fight with Bullseye returning from season 3, kind of out of the blue as this assassin who kind of wrecks shop on a bunch of civilians, including colleagues of Matt, and as a result, killing Foggy Nelson, killing off Foggy right away. Fight is good. It kind of pans out, pans above, pans around a lot, so it's not super close up a lot of the time, but it's done really well. It's certainly grisly, it's certainly violent, it's certainly TNA, and it sets the tone. Now, from what I've heard from people that have seen the whole season, we're not going to see Daredevil in costume anyway, again until episode 6 or so. Not that there will be, other violence and conflict between now and then, but interesting. We'll see how the show is able to kind of juggle its parts, or is it going to be an effective legal drama? We're not a lawyer. I believe he's going to represent a White Tiger vigilante character at some point. How's that going to land, right? How is the return of Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle, the Punisher? How is that going to land? Is that going to feel superfluous, or is it going to fit into the realm of the season? But just be curious, how serialized the series ends up. The season ends up being. I enjoyed Punisher in his supporting role in season 2 of Daredevil when he was introduced. I didn't actually watch the Punisher series on Netflix, which didn't get particularly good reviews, even though it was pretty popular. But of course, I love Jon Bernthal. He's always fantastic, so I have no doubt that seeing him do this role again is going to be pretty fun. Of course, I buried it a little bit. The framing of the season, Wilson Fisk returns to power and ends up becoming the mayor of New York City, winning a landslide election. And the way that's framed, the way the public talks about his candidacy in episode 1, the parallels to our current political times are incredibly obvious and a bit on the nose. But I actually think it's a decent framing for the Wilson Fisk character, which can be a bit larger than life otherwise. D'Onofrio, I enjoy the performance because it's quietly quite sensitive and reserved, but still has these moments of big comic bombast, like the Hawkeye finale. So it's a fun performance. I like the dynamic between Cox and D'Onofrio as well. So again, for me, it's just will this series come together in a satisfying way, or will it just feel like a bunch of disparate parts that will kind of combine together? How cohesive will that be, or will it feel so sloppy? I don't know. And then with the Punisher side of things, will Punisher feel like just kind of a extraneous inclusion to tee up what they have already announced as a Punisher TV special, the Marvel special presentation that they've done on Disney Plus twice before with the World Night episode and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special episode? Hopefully Punisher feels like an important part of the season and not just kind of like a reintroduction for that. I'm also looking forward to seeing more of Michael Gandolfini, who is someone on Wilson Fisk's campaign team, and I believe joins the administration afterwards, rising talent. Ultimately, this will be answered in a year or two. But will Daredevil, Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox's Daredevil, will he be brought into the full fold with Avengers? Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars. You would think, right? That'd be a nice way to kind of canonize and really publicize the character. All that's still up in the air, right? All these characters originated on Disney Plus. So that's a story for another day. For now, let's just see how Daredevil Born Again Season 1 turns out. I'm not super optimistic, but I do enjoy the show for what it is. Let me know, though, what did you think of Born Again? Are you optimistic about the series' prospect, given all the issues. Which character you're most looking forward to seeing, spending time with again, let me know. And for TV reviews, subscribe. I'll see you next time. What's up, Welcome Back to Nostalgia. Dave here with my 2026 Oscar predictions. Of course, these are my early predictions. Gonna really look ahead and preview the movie year to come with emphasis on movies that perhaps will be contending in some form or fashion. And these are early predictions, not just because we're obviously so far out from the actual awards, but also because most of these movies don't have distributors yet. They certainly don't have release dates that are final yet. A lot of these movies have titles that may change. Some of these movies may not come out until actually next year and be another Oscars removed from where we're talking about now. So a lot of this is very TBD, but I do think it's fun to kind of reflect and look ahead in some kind of preview fashion and try and predict what's going to happen. It's an exceedingly challenging task given how many movies come out this year and how international the awards race continues to get. Looking back on this past year, though, no one was predicting Anora to be the Best Picture winner, given Sean Baker's relative lack of award success to this point. Similarly, no one was predicting Emilia Perez to be the film leading the field in terms of nominations. I'm trying to even recall how much awareness there was of the film beyond Jacques Audiard, a celebrated international filmmaker, has a new movie coming out, Netflix behind it. Could be strong. That's all we had, so far out. And that was once Netflix got involved, of course. So take all this with a grain of salt. That being said, I have to say, this is quite a stacked upcoming movie year. Part of this is because of the after effects of the strikes. Movies got pushed. Movies weren't able to finish in time, so thus got pushed with their release dates. So I'm certainly expecting a deeper movie year than what we got in 2024. So looking ahead, I'm just going to kind of highlight movies that I think are relevant for one reason or another. And we'll just kind of go through it here. I'm not going to make any grand predictions about what are the 10 Best Picture nominees or anything like that. But just movies I think are in consideration one way or another. And, in terms of how to think about this for your own sake as we progress through, of course, we've had Sundance already. We've had Berlin. Sundance is becoming more relevant than it used to be in terms really as a place for distributors to pick up movies. So keep an eye and I think probably figure out most of the movies that got bought already, 6 weeks ago. That gives you some tells about where the distributors are doing. But also, it's really important to look to Cannes, in the early summer, because the Palme d'Or winner actually has now been Best Picture winner 2 of the last 5 years with Anora and Parasite. Anyway, let's just kind of rip through and get going. So, first movie up, I think pretty obviously would be Deliver Me From Nowhere. This is the Bruce Springsteen biopic film starring Jeremy Allen White around the time Bruce was creating his Nebraska album. Jeremy Strong in a supporting role as Bruce's manager, John Landau. This film is from 20th Century Studios. I mean, the comparison is obvious to A Complete Unknown, which just really cleaned up and kind of got over-nominated, people thought, in terms of overperforming anyway. This is a pretty obvious one. Unless the movie's a complete disaster, I'd expect award contention for this movie. Directed by Scott Cooper, who is not really an awards darling to this point, certainly not on the James Mangold level. That'd be like my one reservation, but I think there's just going to be a lot of juice and a lot of push behind this movie. In December, of course, we're getting Avatar 3, Avatar Fire and Ash from James Cameron, and that movie is almost assuredly a Best Picture and Best Visual Effects nominee, if not other categories as well. The first 2 Avatar movies were Best Picture nominees, both won Best Visual Effects. It is what it is. And I'm a big fan of those movies, very excited for that. But yeah, Avatar Fire and Ash is by far and away the favorite for Best Visual Effects. I think that's pretty obvious. Apologies to any of the bigger movies coming out this year, like Fantastic Four First Steps or Mission Impossible 7, but it's locked in at this point. It's going to go to Avatar 3. There's some other big movies. F1 comes out from Apple, and Joseph Kosinski, of course, Kosinski's last movie, Top Gun Maverick, was nominated for Best Picture, starring Brad Pitt. That's not a movie I expect to contend for Best Picture, but I do expect it to contend in other categories, draft categories, such as Best Sound. So keep an eye on that. I'm very excited for that movie as well. There's a ton of big filmmakers that have gotten awards attention before, celebrated people up and down the list here. So there's just so many to get to. Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro, Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster. This is Del Toro's reunion with Netflix after his animated Pinocchio movie. This movie will get a lot of attention. Funny enough, we're actually getting his second Frankenstein movie, The Bride, Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial follow-up to The Lost Daughter. This is starring Jesse Buckley, Christian Bale, and Penelope Cruz in Focus. So, if I had to pick between the two, I think Del Toro is more likely to get attention, but we'll see what happens. Also from Focus is Hamnet from Chloe Zhao, starring Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal as Agnes and William Shakespeare grieving their son based on a novel. Chloe Zhao, of course, Nomadland wins Best Picture, she wins Best Director, and then she has a big dud with Marvel's Eternals. This is her first film since then. I'm expecting a lot of attention for this movie as well. Coming out literally tomorrow when I'm recording this is Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho's film with Warner Brothers, starring Robert Pattinson. This is Bong's first movie since Parasite came out in 2019. It's been a while at this point. I'm not expecting this to necessarily contend for Best Picture, given what we know about the movie and the story. This kind of feels more in line with like an Okja type Bong movie. Bong is a strange and unique filmmaker with a lot of interesting quirks. Not the most awards-friendly creator normally. I expect Mickey 17 to probably be in his usual wheelhouse. Highest to Lowest from Spike Lee. This is a joint A24 and Apple movie with Denzel Washington and Jeffrey Wright. This is, of course, a reimagining of High and Low from Akira Kurosawa, starring Toshiro Mifune, one of Kurosawa's most celebrated movies. He kind of needs no introduction. Every Spike movie is significant, very exciting. Jay Kelly is Noah Baumbach's fourth film in a row for Netflix, starring George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Billy Crudup, and some other folks. Baumbach, he's been up and down in terms of getting these movies awards attention. Marriage Story, of course, got a lot of love. White Noise did not. Irish Stories did not get too much. So we'll see where this lands, but looking forward to the movie nonetheless. Marty Supreme is Josh Safdie's solo directorial debut. The Safdies have split, at least for now, just like the Coen brothers did. And this film stars Timothée Chalamet. That's the reason Timmy's been rocking the mustache for a little bit now. This is an A24 movie. It's got Christmas Day release. Whether Chalamet gets right back into the Best Actor mix with this movie, I don't know. It needs to be seen. We're not really sure what kind of movie it is. The Safdies, to this point, haven't gotten a ton of awards love. It's a good time, Uncut Gems, not Oscar movies, right? Could this change with Martin Supreme, with Timmy's involvement, perhaps? But even if it's not necessarily an Oscar movie, it's going to be a significant movie, obviously. And of course, the other Safdie brother, Benny Safdie, has his solo debut, The Smashing Machine, coming out also for A24. This stars The Rock, also has Emily Blunt. Pretty exciting for me, just because it feels like this is like a Dwayne Johnson really trying type movie, which is what we've wanted for a while now, so hopefully it turns out well. A movie that I don't think is really an Oscar movie, but you never know, is After the Hunt. This is Luca Guadagnino's latest movie starring Julia Roberts. Of course, Luca went over 2 last year with Challengers and Queer. Obviously, really surprising and unfortunate that Challengers got blanked. Movie rules. This movie, Julia Roberts, in theory, could help elevate it, you would think. It's an Amazon MGM movie, though. And Amazon MGM has no track record at the Oscars thus far, since MGM has been part of it. So I kind of have to see it first before I can trust their ability to mount an effective awards campaign. But should be a significant movie, just because of Luca, Julia. Obviously, it's worth seeing. A movie that's definitely an awards contender would be The Ballad of a Small Player. This was Edward Berger's latest movie, starring Colin Farrell and Tilda Swinton, also for Netflix. Reuniting with Netflix following his All Quiet on the Western Front remake, which was a huge Oscar contender, won several times. And of course, it's following up Conclave, which also was a huge awards contender this year. Edward Berger, German filmmaker, has very quickly become a significant annual awards contender, it seems. Also in the mix this year is Begonia. That's the latest Yorgos Lanthimos movie, also featuring Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, like his recent work. This movie is a focus release again and coming out in November, so it seems like there's a lot more like traditional awards play faith in this movie, a la what happened with Poor Things, and less so what happened last year with Kinds of Kindness, which was like a mid-year release that didn't really go anywhere awards-wise. I don't think this is necessarily an awards movie, but Lynn Ramsey's first movie in 5 years, 6 years, Die My Love. The cast is crazy. Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson, and Keith Stanfield. I'm pretty stoked for it. Her last movie, I Was Never Really Here, with Joaquin, was great. So really exciting, very minimum. The Phoenician Scheme, the latest Wes Anderson movie, focus release coming out at the end of May this year. Wes has been cold at the Oscars the last handful of movies he's made, right? It's really not since The Great Budapest Hotel over 10 years ago now that Wes made any noise at the Oscars. So we kind of got to see that happen again before we get to it. On the other hand, one day maybe will be the coronation for Wes Anderson, but I'm not sure it's going to be this year. Also significant is The Life of Chuck. This is a Mike Flanagan movie starring Tom Hiddleston, Stephen King novella adaptation. This is out in June from Neon. Just won Best Picture for the second time in 5 years. Toronto Audience Award winner last year, 2024. Not necessarily a contender, not the most traditional award release date, but something to keep in mind. The Lost Bus from Paul Greengrass. This is Paul Greengrass's first movie since News of the World, which was 2020. It's been a long time already. Matthew McConaughey, America Ferrera, Apple movie. We'll see. A movie that could truly, in every sense of the word, go either way. That would be Michael from Antoine Fuqua, the Michael Jackson biopic film, out in October from Lionsgate. I mean, Antoine Fuqua is such an up and down filmmaker in terms of quality. Music biopic film, we talk about him all the time. Also very up and down in terms of quality. I certainly had high hopes this time last year around Back to Black, Amy Winehouse biopic starring Marissa Novella, and that movie was an abject disaster. On the other hand, Bohemian Rhapsody, Oscar darling. You never know what will happen. This movie is certainly polarizing, given its subject. The thing to probably keep an eye on most with this would be Coleman Domingo's performance as, Uncle Joe Jackson, just because Domingo's trying to get nominated 3 times in a row for an acting award. So we'll see. A movie that I don't think is Oscar contender, but still significant, is Nouvelle Vague. There's exactly sure how to pronounce it. It's Richard Linklater's French debut film. It's about the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, starring Zoe Deutsch. Linklater, he's pretty active. And he's active all the time, and he usually doesn't get awards recognition. Hitman didn't get recognized last year. Why would this movie? Now, if France gets behind this movie, maybe that'll change. It's an international effort with an American filmmaker. Maybe that'll change. I'm not sure. Certainly significant movie and Oscar contender is One Battle After Another, which may or may not be the title of the next Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Previously was titled The Battle of Baghdad Cross. It's kind of been an unofficial title for a while, so whether that's the title or not, this is Paul Thomas Anderson's movie coming out in August from Warner Brothers with a massive budget, and it has starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and Regina Hall. Very, very exciting. Really can't wait for this. Sentimental Value is the latest film from Joachim Trier, following up The Worst Person in the World, which was a big award surprise a few years ago. He's reuniting with that movie's star, Renate Renzva. Also has Stellan Skarsgård and Corey Michael-Smith, who made a lot of noise on Saturday night. Looking forward to that movie. I think international film fans, the international voting body, maybe could get behind that movie and it can make some noise. We'll see. The movie people have seen already would be Train Dreams, which premiered at Sundance this year. Clint Bentley and Greg Couillard from Sing Sing are behind this movie, featuring Joel Edgerton and Felicity Jones. It's been picked up by Netflix. Of course, Wicked 2, Wicked for Good will be in the mix, coming out this fall. Will this movie get another Best Picture nomination? Probably. Will Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo get nominated again? Probably less likely, although if it's a lead supporting actress year, maybe Ariana Grande could win. Not sure, but that's from Universal, obviously. Another big franchise film would be Wake Up Dead Man, aka Knives Out 3, out on Netflix in the fall sometime, we assume, from Ryan Johnson. Daniel Craig returns, and the new ensemble cast this time around. Obviously, the anthology films. Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Jeremy Renner, Neil Kunis, Kerry Washington, among others. Needs no introduction. We'll see to what degree this movie gets nominated again. Obviously, Netflix has a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to award season, so we'll see what happens about Wake Up Dead Man. Do they care about the movie's Oscar chances, or do they view it more as like a blockbuster, a subscriber generator? I don't know. On the animated side of things, of course, Pixar has an original film this year, Elio, coming out. Disney returning with Zootopia 2, which will certainly be massive. And then Wildwood is the latest film from Laika. Of course, Laika, the stop-motion studio. Laika is 5 for 5 in terms of their past movies being nominated for Best Animated Feature. So, seems like a lot until proven otherwise. Clara in the Sun is notable. This is starring Jenna Ortega and Amy Adams from Sony. It's a Taika Waititi movie. Of course, Taika, big Oscar darling with Jojo Rabbit, but then he had 2 duds in a row with Thor, Love and Thunder, and Next Goal Wins. So, that's a complete toss-up. Honestly, probably leaning not being in the mix, but we'll see. Probably the smallest movie I'll talk about here will be Pressure. This is from Australian director Anthony Morris. It stars Andrew Scott and Brendan Fraser. I think it's notable just because Andrew Scott's been rapidly rising, but not quite getting all the way there. Right, All the Strangers, he didn't get the Oscar nom. He didn't win anything for Netflix's Ripley, but it feels like the critical buzz is so strong with him that eventually he'll break through. Right, of course, Brendan Fraser coming off the Best Actor win for The Whale. So we'll see how that movie does, given its seemingly small stature. Also of note is The Roses, which is from Jay Roach, director of Bombshell, which did decently with awards a few years back. This has Ben Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman front and center, and it's from Searchlight. Also significant would be the Running Man remake from Edgar Wright, starring Glenn Powell. This is a Paramount movie out in November. Unlikely to be a Oscar contender. I mean, look at how Last Night Soho did, for example. But significant movie, obviously. A movie that no means a lock to come out this year, but Catherine Bigelow reportedly has an untitled film at Netflix starring Will Fitzgerald and Idris Elba and Rebecca Ferguson. I mean, it's Bigelow's first movie since Detroit came out in 2017, and only her second movie since Zero Dark 30 came out in 2012. That was the last time she was in the awards mix, so she's obviously just a titanic figure when she does make movies, so I'm just curious about how that movie's going to go more than anything else. But we'll see what happens. That movie has to have a title, actually have a release date first before we put much confidence into predicting it. A Big Bold Beautiful Journey stars Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell. Sony movie out in May. And it's from director Kogonada. Right? Maybe Kogonada could one day have a Sean Baker-esque rise. Maybe not all the way to the top the way Laura did, but he's slowly, steadily rising in status and acclaim with Columbus and After May. We'll see how this movie does. Margot Robbie's stature perhaps really helping the movie. I would not be surprised if one day Kogonada really kind of busts through and gets recognized in some significant. One of my most anticipated movies for the whole year would be Materialist. This is Celine Song's follow-up to Past Lives from 2 years ago, my number 2 movie of 2023. Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans, out in June 2024. Some movies that I don't think are in the mix, but are, certainly significant would be The History of Sound. This is a Paul Mescal, Josh O'Connor movie from South African director Oliver Hermanus, who I've been interested in for his few films. This movie, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. It's a Jim Jarmusch movie, so probably not an Oscar contender, but it's Kate Blanchett and Adam Driver, which says a lot. Madden. This is David O. Russell's John Madden biopic starring Nicolas Cage for Amazon MGM. Who knows if that's even going to be any good? O. Russell's certainly on a cold streak, but I'm going to see it. Mother Mary, I'm very excited about. This is from David Lowery, starring Michaela Cole and Anne Hathaway for A24. I mean, David Lowery, the last time he made something that wasn't Peter Pan and Wendy for Disney was The Green Knight 2021, which is my favorite movie of that year. So I'm stoked for this movie. Eleanor the Great. This is Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut starring Gene Squibb. We saw them riffing together at the Oscars. Hope it's good. Looking forward to it. Similarly, we have Good Fortune, which is Aziz Ansari's directorial debut, starring Keanu Reeves, out in October for Lionsgate. We also have Jonah Hill's latest movie, Outcome, also featuring Keanu Reeves with Apple. And then probably the last movie of some significance. The movie itself remains to be seen, but its star, of course, is a huge deal. This would be Anemone, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, also featuring Sean Bean. This is the directorial debut from Roman Day-Lewis, Daniel Day-Lewis' son, focus movie. Of course, this is DDL's first film since Phantom Thread back in 2017. Been retired for a long time. Tons of curiosity about the movie. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the greatest actor ever, Best Actor winner. You know the drill at this point. It's a big deal. So we'll see what happens with that. It does come out this year. Also, The Entertainment System is Down. That's Ruben Östlund's movie, also featuring Keanu Reeves, but that just started filming, so I think that's not this cycle. But significant figure, of course, because he's a really big international filmmaker. I think that's about it from my list. It's a lot of movies, and of course there'll be stuff I didn't enjoy. Tons of international stuff, big and small, that this isn't on the radar this far out. That's just how it works these days. Like I'm Still Here, right? Best Picture nominee, wins Best International Feature Film. That was not in anyone's radar in March of 2024. That's just how it is, and that's okay. Yeah, we're doing this so far in advance. That's where I'm at. Obviously, that's pretty Hollywood focus, but let me know which of those movies are you most excited to see. What do you think will be an Oscar contender? What movie did I not mention do you think will be an Oscar contender? Let me know. And for more Oscars talk, come back throughout the year. We get closer, pick nominations, pick winners, and movie reviews. Come back every week, and I'll see you next time. All right, that's going to do it for the pod this week. Next week, we have a lot to get into. First and foremost, Mickey 17, the new film from Bong Joon-ho, starring Robert Pattinson, Bong's first movie since Parasite. Very, very exciting. The return of The Righteous Gemstones for the third and final season of HBO, and then a ton of music. Lady Gaga, Jenny, Yeji of Itzy, Treasure. Oh, and Drive to Survive Season 7 is dropping on Netflix. Ton of stuff to get to. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, youtube.com/nostalgiapod, see links below. Get the best of 2025 Spotify, put those links below. You know it's good, and I'll see you next week.